Hey, what's up everybody? In this video, I want to tell you about 3 experiences that I had with the police that did not end up too well. I'm not anti-police officer, but I do think that there's problems that can't be ignored. So let's talk about it. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another video on this channel. My name is Chase, and apparently this video is sponsored by Italy. I didn't even do that on purpose, but I got the Venice hat, the Italy shirt. So I'm expecting a check from the entire country of Italy after doing this video. Anyway, I wanted to make this video I've actually been wanting to make this for a number of years, but I wasn't sure how to approach it. And there's actually 2 reasons why I almost didn't make this video, but I think that it is relevant, especially to everything that's going on right now. But number one, I don't want to make this video just to try and ask people to feel guilty. You know, I'm sure that a lot of people are going to say, I'm sorry that this stuff happened to you. That's not the intention of this video. In fact, the next video coming out on this channel is a conversation that I had with a friend about white guilt. And now I don't think white guilt is actually the solution to solving anything, but then also because I truly do respect police officers. I have 2 pretty good friends, one black and one white, who are police officers, and I do have the utmost respect. I mean, I know for a fact I could never do their job, and so I don't want to make this as a video just to bash all police officers, but I think that this is something that's important to talk about. And I don't think I even actually said what I'm talking about. I want to share some experiences that I had with the police that I do believe were racially biased, but I don't want this video to be, you know, just trying to garner sympathy, and I don't want this to be a video attacking police officers. I've been a fan of the police ever since I went through Safety Town when I was like 5, so I understand that there's a difficult job that they do, but I think it's possible for us also to believe that there's biases that are held and that there's a problem that somehow needs to be changed. The reason I'm making this video is because a lot of times as these discussions about police brutality have been raising and these discussions about injustice have been happening, a lot of people have been sending me statistical evidence to back up why police brutality is not a thing, and why racial-based discrimination within the police force is not a thing. And so I keep getting people sending these statistics, and so I'm not trying to provide statistics to back up what I'm saying. I'm just gonna share with you 3 personal experiences that I've had as someone who, you know, I'd like to think is a law-abiding citizen. And so I'm just gonna tell you my stories and my experiences, and then you can do with that whatever you want. The first experience was from when I was younger. I was growing up. I don't remember exactly how old I was. I wanna say I was around 8th grade. We're driving to a school event, and I think I'm the oldest of 6. 5 of us at the time were in the car and my mom. So we're driving, this minivan drives by and there's people screaming in the minivan. And we're like, oh, that was kind of weird. And, you know, probably a minute, 2 minutes tops later, our car gets surrounded, just swarmed by about a dozen police officers. They all jump out. They have their guns pointed straight at us. The doors are open, you know, just like straight out of a movie. I don't think they were holding it like this. As you can see, I'd make a terrible police officer. But all that to say, I mean, we have the guns aimed right at us. My mom is terrified. She just puts her arms straight up and just starts screaming. And, you know, I'm young. I'm in about 8th grade. I don't really comprehend what's going on until later. But what seemed like an eternity, it could have been 10 seconds, it could have been a minute later, all the cars leave except for one, and there's only one officer that remains. And they go up to the window, and my mom, you know, who's still just shaking and terrified, and they tell her that there was a bank robbery, and the description was black people in a minivan. Well, we fit that description in our family, and so the police pulled us over and held us at gunpoint because they mistakenly thought that we were the bank robbers. I'm sure they quickly realized, and thankfully they realized it before they, you know, turned our van into Swiss cheese. But that was, you know, the first overt example that I've had in my life where I was on the receiving end of discrimination by the police because I was black, because our family was black. The second example where I was like, okay, this is based on my race, was when the first time Amanda and I drove into the state of Texas. We were engaged at the time, and so we were going, we drove down, we stayed with my godparents who live in Texas, and so we're driving down. Amanda's asleep in the car, I'm driving, and we ended up getting pulled over. When we got pulled over, the police officer made me get out of the car, stand facing with my back towards the road, facing away from the road, with my hands behind my back. They didn't handcuff me or anything like that, but I remember that I had to stand with my hands behind my back. And they went over to my wife, and knocked on the window, and, you know, she rolled the window down and basically kept asking her all these questions. And the phrase I remember they used specifically was, they said, "Do you feel safe with this man?" You know, and she's like, "Yeah, that's my fiance. Like, we're about to get married." And they were prodding her with questions like, you know, "You can tell us, like, you know, is everything okay?" And I remember that, and that one stuck with me, because actually out of all the events, that was probably the most frustrating to me, because I just felt it was almost dehumanizing in a way, that the way that they were asking her, "Do you feel safe with," I mean, they said this man, but it was almost like, "Do you feel safe with this thing over here, this creature? Are you sure you're safe with him? We can protect you from him." And I can go more and more into that, but I'm not going to. The third example that I want to share, a specific example, is when I was down in Texas. Again, I was in Dallas. I was in seminary, going to Dallas Theological Seminary. My wife and I, we were living in an efficiency, so a very small apartment, and I was studying Greek. Now, if you've ever studied another language, you know that you have to study it by reading it out loud. That's how you get repetition and you learn it. My wife was trying to sleep because she had to wake up, and so I left the apartment and was studying out loud. And so our apartment complex had a playground, and so I went over to that playground, and I was just sitting over there. I was sitting on one of the swings, and I was studying these Greek flashcards and saying them out loud. A police car rolls up. The lights weren't even on, but a police car rolls up, and the officer gets out, and I see him, and I see his hand on his gun, and it's unholstered. And he shines the light right at me, and he's asking, what am I doing? I remember two things. I remember one, I couldn't really see anything other than the flashlight, and I could kind of see before he showed the flashlight that his hand was on his gun. So, you know, I didn't know what was happening. And then I also remember when I stood up from the swing and started kind of moving towards him, that their voice escalated and said, "Don't move," right? They didn't say get on the ground. They didn't say anything like that, but they made it very clear that I was not supposed to move in that moment. I said, "I live in apartment 810. That was the apartment that we lived in." And I said, "I'm just out here studying." And the situation de-escalated there, but his hand was still on his weapon. And basically what he told me is that someone in our apartment complex had called and said that there was a black man on drugs that was in the playground. And when that happened, I went back and I told some of my friends from seminary and kind of tried to make a joke out of it. Like, I was studying Greek. They thought I was on drugs. Like, see how crazy this language is. But that really bothered me, because if I would have misheard the officer, or if I would have approached the officer, or if I would have gotten upset with the officer, you know, I easily could have become a hashtag in that moment. And I could, and those are the three biggest experiences that have happened to me personally. I could share tons of experiences of things that have happened that are far worse to family members, close family members that many of you watching this video know, but those aren't my stories to tell. And I could share, you know, even minor examples, how every time I get pulled over, the thought literally runs through my mind, is this it? You know, is someone around that's able to film this? I was sitting in a parking lot the other day, or about 2 weeks ago. I went through a fast food drive-through, which I probably need to stop doing because I definitely put on the COVID-19. But I went through this drive-through and went to sit in this empty parking lot because the restaurants were still closed. We weren't allowed to go into the restaurant and eat. So I'm sitting in there eating, and one police car drives by, another police car drives by, and then that first police car drives by again. And I start looking around like really thinking, is something going to go down in this moment? The reason I'm sharing these stories is to show that you can throw all the statistics you want at me, but I'm sharing experiences to show you that I have been on the other end of unjust treatment by the police based on my skin color. And I'm not someone who's out there trying to disobey authority, right? I'm not out there as someone who's breaking the law. I see people say, hey, if you want to avoid confrontation with the police, don't break the law. I didn't break the law in any of those circumstances and ended up dehumanized in one instance and pretty much at gunpoint in two others. And I know someone's going to say you were only held at gunpoint once, not the one in Dallas. Does that really make much of a difference? And so the reason I'm making this video is because especially if you're a Christian and we're called to weep with those who are weeping, it's important for you to know the full story and to learn so that you can know what you're weeping over, right? These riots and stuff that are happening are not happening just because of George Floyd. This is the tip of an iceberg of several unjust instances that have happened, not just to me. Multiply that by all the black people out there that have had these similar experiences and worse experiences. So injustice is a thing. You know, I do have two friends that are police officers, and I know even by saying that I'm getting into the realm of people who are like, I do have a black friend, but what I'm saying is I've talked about these instances with my police officer friends, but I wanted to share them with you guys. I think my frustration comes in when I see people who have not been through these experiences and are far removed from these experiences and don't even have meaningful relationships with people who are black, that deny the existence of all of this stuff happening. As a pastor in an area that's predominantly white, I feel like the Lord has put me in a place to pursue, not as my primary pursuit, but to pursue racial reconciliation. Racial reconciliation is a two-way street. Those who have been harmed, yes, we need to forgive, but those who have not experienced that need to acknowledge that there is racial injustice that still happens on a regular basis. And until one group is ready to recognize and admit that there's a problem, and the other group is able to forgive, until both of those happen, then we're not going to see racial reconciliation. Looks like I'm trying to shoot that gun again. So now that I've told you this, you know, you can continue to believe that racial injustice and police discrimination towards people of color is not a thing. But I've told you 3 stories that happened to me as someone who likes to think I'm a law-abiding citizen. So now it's on you. So thanks for watching this video. Like I've said, I do have another video coming out this week of a great conversation that I had with a friend talking about white guilt. You guys won't want to miss that. But then after that, I got another video coming out that's just a regular vlog, doesn't mention any of the injustices going on. So maybe it'll, if you feel like you need to clear your mind, then that video will be exciting and you'll get to see Ada in it, which I'm sure half of you on this channel, that's the only reason you're subscribed anyway. So thanks for watching this video, and I will see you on another video.